Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron, and you're tuning in to my Orzhov, Heartless, and Eldrazi combo deck here on the channel. Now, first off, this deck is going to be really up there in price at over $1,000 as of the recording of this video, and that's because most of the cards listed here are modern staples, like the $15 Thoughtseize, the $33 Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, and the $67 Cavern of Souls. But you'll find that you can still strip away many of the double-digit cards and still have the deck function in its primary concepts. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This deck revolves around having multiple copies of Heartless Summoning on the battlefield, along with the Athreos God of Passage, Athreos. Heartless Summoning is a 2-mana enchantment that gives you a 2 generic mana discount on the creatures you cast, with the drawback of weakening creatures on your side of the battlefield by -1, -1. With this effect stacking with each copy, we aim to have at least 2 copies in play, allowing us to cheese out our fun little synergy between Athreos and Solemn Simulacrum. Athreos, God of Passage, is a 5/4 indestructible enchantment creature that only becomes a creature when you have at least 7 devotion to Orzhov, that is black or white. On top of this, Athreos allows you to return creatures you control that died back to your hand, unless an opponent of your choice elects to pay 3 life. Now, in this deck, Athreos will never be a creature, as you'll never have over 6 devotion to Orzhov at any given point. So we're just using it as a means to return the 0/0 robots and Good Boys Filigree Familiar back to our hand when they die due to the state-based effect of being 0/0s. When this happens, you will draw a card from that creature's death trigger, along with their enter the battlefield trigger of either gaining life or fetching for a basic land, putting into play tapped. And then your opponent will have to either pay 3 life or let you do it again. Once you've gotten your opponent to a low enough life total with Athreos, they'll have no choice but to let you continue this process as many times as you like, which will be all the times, because each of these artifact creatures will draw your entire deck. The sad robot will pump out all of your 11 basic lands into play, and you'll then be able to dump out whatever it is in your hand that you so choose. Once your turn ends, you'll discard down to hand size, allowing either a Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, or Emrakul the Aeon's Torn to hit your graveyard, reshuffling your graveyard back into your library. You will then have a full library, full grip of cards, and 15 mana in play for next turn. Now, seeing as you'd need to drain your opponent 7 times with Athreos to begin this chain of events, we'll need to stave off our opponent until we can get our pieces into place and our opponent low enough on life. We have a total of 11 tutors in the deck in the form of Idyllic Tutor, Beseech the Queen, Conduit of Ruin, and Sanctum of Ugin, assuring that we can hit our desired setup about as quickly as we can. Path to Exile and Thoughtseize can disrupt our opponents long enough to put together a solid enough defense, and even just dropping Filigree Familiars and Solemn Simulacrums onto the board the old-fashioned way can provide us with a few extra turns to sneak out our little combo. Conduit of Ruin is great, as it's a beefy boy that can come in against Tarmogoyfs and Death Shadows and can tutor up any of our big Eldrazi threats, and even provides a once-a-turn mana discount alongside our Heartless Summoning. We have our 4 Eldrazi finishers with It That Betrays, adding insult to injury by stealing our opponent's stuff that we annihilate, Artisan of Kozilek, that can clog up the board by reanimating any creature from our graveyard. Dread Defiler can come in for those last points of damage against an opponent with their shields up, allowing us to turn Fallen Eldrazi into burn spells. And then, of course, Kozilek and the 2 different copies of Emrakul need no introduction. Our main board goes pretty hard on this Aristocrats game plan, so our sideboard is here to pad our disruption package to accommodate what our opponent will likely be doing. Anguish Unmaking and Chalice of the Void slot in nicely into this deck as amazing catch-all answers to anything that may be threatening to close out the game early. Leyline of Sanctity is a sideboard staple against fellow hand disruption spells and burn players. 1 copy of Ghostly Prison and Solemnity can be tutored up by our various tutor effects in order to hose a particular strategy, and we would be remiss to not include Settle the Wreckage and Surgical Extraction in our Orzhov sideboard. And that's it for today's Decktech. I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know in the comments what content you'd like to see more of in the future. My name is Aaron, and have an awesome day.